MC.
Hello and welcome to Fish Wrap. Each week, we'll give you accurate fish reports, some truthful-ish stories, and honestly, the occasional lie. We'll tell you about the best places to find fish. We'll interview people who regulate and protect our shared resources. And even better, each week we'll introduce you to the characters who make fishing so fantastic. For our first ever Fish Wrap podcast, we'll meet the Simpson brothers, two young fishermen with a story to tell about a great big striper and a family story of sacrifice, cheer, and honor. Thanks very much for listening. Here we go with episode 1. The brightest faces catch the biggest fish. August has never been so bright. Never so bright as when two young and very happy fishermen hauled in a really big fish, and then after a few days of rest and homemade lunches, went back out and caught another one. 5-year-old Gabriel Simpson and his 7-year-old brother Michael are stars in the making. Possibly as fishermen, possibly as adventurers, possibly as comedians. But these two know how to catch fish. Krista Simpson and her sons are blessed to spend summers with her father, Bob Kolb, cruising around Rhode Island salt ponds and the coastlines looking for fluke, bluefish, and striped bass. He fills their days with trips to Jim's dock, to the always smiling Elisa at Snug Harbor Marina for a day's worth of bait, and trolling around in Bob's 13-foot whaler, the Speedy McSkiff. Together, they fish 2 or 3 days a week, typically on Big Boat Mondays and often on Big Beach Wednesdays. Their trip last week was extra special. "Let's drop down a line and see what we catch," said Michael, known to his shipmates as Captain Barnacles, as they approached a secret spot searching for stripers. Apparently, brother Gabriel was in charge of their eels, but in very short order, between chasing them around the deck and possibly being distracted by the many potential adventures of a salt pond, only one eel remained. It was 1 p.m. Clouds and a moontide were arriving. The exact location, of course, is top secret. While drawing a very, very general map in the air with a piece of plastic, it was pretty obvious Michael understood the ramifications of identifying a good fishing spot to a guy with a notebook. "We were in Point Judith Pond, somewhere around High Point," Captain Barnacle said, very evasively. The boys had talked about heading for home, but the water goes round and around and around and sort of makes a small island, he said, and they knew that every few days a big fish might visit. With their grandfather, alias the swashbuckling Quasi, watching the helm, somehow the eel managed to free itself from the hook, but still stay entangled with the leader. They reached deep into their fishing toolbox for some luck, which in this case was Michael's favorite fish poem, "Abracadabra, make a fish appear, one on a line and one in Quasi's beard." "He struck," Michael yelled, and it was fish on. He wrestled the rod, worked through the pain, and helped to haul the bass aboard. "It was a good struggle," Michael told me, adding, "although I don't really know how long a good struggle is." Tipping the scales at 28 pounds, the bass measured 36 inches, which is a lot for many fishermen, but not for these two. Bob showed them how to fillet, removed an intact green crab from its stomach for an impromptu biology lesson, and then proceeded with the preparation of their house specialty, striper bites. "So I'm the brains and he's the brawn," Michael said, pointing to Gabriel, who was busy loading an inverted umbrella with a bunch of egg weights in some new cutting-edge umbrella rig design. "The boys are wonderful, full of good energy, have the biggest smiles ever, and they love to fish, especially if it begins with a ride to the boat in Quasi's fully rigged golf cart." The Simpsons are a Gold Star family. Their father, Army Staff Sergeant Michael H. Simpson of C Company, 4th Battalion, 1st Special Forces Group, Airborne, gave his very young life to protect all of ours. Mr. Simpson was a Green Beret, a brother in a select group of quiet professional soldiers, but their dad was also a very proud soldier who was happy to announce his hard-earned membership in an honorable team. Krista has formed the Unquiet Professionals, to support those who grieve from such losses. It's healthy and empowers opportunities to heal, Krista told me, adding, Mike always had somewhere to be. He was always training. Talking with his 2 young sons, it was obvious their father's sense of adventure and joy is now that bright twinkle in their eyes. A few days later, on a big beach Wednesday, they headed to a corner of Nebraska Shoal with white bucktails and squid for fluking. It was 10 a.m. We saw a line of bait, and it was about this long in the water, Michael said, gesturing down to his very tan, bare feet. We saw it with our very own eyes, Gabriel exclaimed, swinging the umbrella-rigged prototype precariously around the garage. Thinking there might be some bluefish below, they cast lines off both sides, and one took off. Gabriel yelled, "Pop a fish!" as it went under the boat. After lots of reeling, repositioning, and maneuvering, the 2 managed to land a beautiful 7-pound bonito. The Simpson brothers had struck again. While lots of captains and guides swept the south coast, Captain Barnacles and the Speedy McSkiff crew showed us all how to catch big fish, how to cover their tracks, and how to laugh all the way back to Jim's dock. Not so coincidentally just in time for lunch. The Simpson family is very strong. Gabriel and Michael are very fortunate. They are 2 angels, happy as clams, cruising a salt pond with their ever-patient Quasi, all smiling brightly. With her boys at her feet, Krista said, "We're going to show people there's always hope. You just have to look for it. You just have to be open to it." Amen.